Hey everyone, it's Marcus. This is a very wrinkled sweater, and I only realized that after I put it on. Also, it's got a stain on it. It's not from this. It's beet juice. You guys wanted to know. I hate myself. This is the final episode of The Tiger King before the, I guess, talk show format it's kind of taken on now. We only review one of the talk show episodes. As far as I know, there are 2, maybe 3 out right now. I'm not going to review any more of the talk show after the first one that we review. How many more times can I say the word review? Thank you guys very much so for clicking on my video, and let's just jump into it, dude.
Hi, all you cool cats and kittens.
Oh yeah, she's wearing the animal print and everything, special for this episode.
It's special for the season finale. I aspire to be Carol Baskin and have the same relationship as her and her second husband, Howard, have.
Not the first one. Jury's still out on if that one was a murder or not, but
yeah, I'm still thinking about that.
This one's called Dethroned. That was what this episode was called, because the Tiger King was appropriately dethroned. So first thing I want to bring up is that Joe called his husband 3 times a day. That's annoying. That's annoying. That's so annoying. Like, bro, I know you're in jail. I know you're bored, right? But, like, that's really annoying. I went to AIT with a guy who called his wife. I'm not even joking. I'm not joking. I don't think I've told you about this guy. He called his wife like 9 times a day. No word of a lie. Anytime we had any free time to ourselves, which was like barely any time, but anytime we had any free time to ourselves, it was immediately on the phone with his wife. Immediately on the phone with his wife. And I was like, what the frick? And then he's like on the phone with his kids, and the worst part was that it was never on his headphones, and it was never in his, like, on a phone. It was on speaker every single time. FaceTime. I saw his bratty little kids like 1,000,000 times. Sorry if you're watching this, pal. I saw your kids like 18 million times, and I saw your wife way more times than I care to, like. I don't want to know any of your family, bro. I'm sorry. Anyways, so that was my little rant on calling people that many times a day.
I gotta say, here's my little rant about the Tiger King. Why is every man shirtless in this documentary, like, so much? I feel like it was just heavily a shirtless episode. Like, wow. I know that there was some weird stuff in, like, all the other ones, but a man got into his bathtub and did an interview in this one. So
dude had a sponge bath in a do-rag.
His bathtub, and he had a little sippy cup that I'm sure was full of alcohol, as I do in my baths, but I don't film any episodes in my bath. In fact, you know what? We should have gotten into her old
That was a missed opportunity. And I apologize.
I have a question that it seemed like common sense to me. So Joe was talking in this episode. In this episode, we learned that he point blank shot at least 5 of his cats. I imagine one of those cats was one of the ones that he had chased around in the pen of. I just imagine, because he seems like he gets pretty angry pretty quick. But why can't, he says, what do you do when a cat gets sick? You shoot it. And I'm just like, I feel like if you had a vet like Carol Baskin has, you don't have to shoot it. Like, Carol Baskin just had to euthanize one of her cats, Tiger Lily, last week, as we were talking about, and she had a vet come and euthanize it. I don't understand. Yeah,
I don't have any.
That's like a real rough. I don't know. I have a feeling those cats weren't near death.
I have a feeling that a lot of them were, well, you bit me. You know, you're an adult cat, but you bit me. Kind of like a dog, like you used to do with a dog. Oh, well, it bit someone, just put it down immediately. Do you know what I mean?
I have a feeling they haven't found half the cats that he's killed. Like, do you know what I mean? And
nope.
I feel the same about all of those guys. I just don't understand. I mean, from Doc Antle's aspect, it's money. So he is breeding and then murdering those cubs to get as much cub petting money as he can. So I kind of can see how he is doing that, but I just, like, it's so evil. It's so beyond evil and disgusting and money grubbing.
Especially with killing an endangered species. So there's always, like, it's sad to kill an animal, or it's bad to kill an animal that you're not actually going to, like, use. You're just killing it. Especially if that animal, you've known that animal, like it's a family pet or anything like that. It's a very sad time. But it's especially sad when there's less than 4,000 animals left of that particular animal in their native environment. Of course, there's 10,000 plus inside the United States, but inside of their native range, there's less than 4,000. They're a highly endangered animal, and they're a highly sought-after animal. To just throw it away like that is very... Aside from showing that you have no regard for life, it doesn't seem like you have a regard for the planet as a whole. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can't remember what the guy's name was, but one of your favorite guys, the guy that doesn't have any legs.
I thought it was Eric, but no, I don't know his name. I like him though.
Yeah, he's fun. But he said to that reporter, he said, like, after, or was that him, or was that the guy with the long hair? I can't remember. Both of those are interchangeable to me, those two guys, because they're just so chill. But, you know, he said if I'd known that Joe said to him, if I'd known it was that easy, I would have killed them all. You know,
Eric said that.
Like, Joe said some stuff in this documentary that, like, I mean, Carol had warned it from the first episode of something is going to happen. You know, like, something big is going to happen to this guy because of what had happened. Remember that with that other guy that had let go of all of his animals, you know?
Which I believe was also in Oklahoma? Wasn't that also in Oklahoma?
I don't know. Or Ohio. I feel it was an O word.
Might have been Ohio.
I don't know.
Future Marcus will tag where that was from.
But yeah, I mean, she said it. She called it right from the start. Like, something real bad is about to happen. And luckily, he didn't, like, just let all of his animals go, you know, during his nervous breakdown, because I could see that definitely happening. Everything was being taken away from him, and he seemed like he was very, like, quick to action, you know? Speaking
of him being quick to action, that was literally my next point. Aside from, we love you, Eric. But that's just me. By the way, Eric looks like Mark O'Shea, a guy I used to watch on TV a long time ago who I've actually talked to quite a bit in the past few years. Probably ever since 2012. Him and I have been on and off again in communication. If you guys know who that is, that's major clout. But if you don't, it means nothing to you. Anyways, Joe, being very quick to action, he seems like a do-it-yourself kind of guy, which is why the murder for hire scheme, like you said, sounds like it came from below as opposed to Joe.
Yeah. I think that idea was definitely planted by Lowe to kill Carol. I think, no, not to kill her. I think Joe had that in his mind for a while, that he was going to go cap that. But friggin' Jeff Lowe, I think, was the minds of the operation in the background here. And I think that's probably why a lot of people too are siding with Joe right now, because a lot of people set him up. They definitely set him up. They set him up so that they wouldn't go to jail too. I mean, his ex-husband was like, "No, I'm not going to jail. I'm gonna do everything I can." Which is respectable. I wouldn't go to jail for him. Like, no,
not for Joe.
So I think more people should have gone to jail in this. I don't think Joe should be free, but I definitely think Jeff Lowe and Doc Antle need to get their comeuppance. You know? And
Doc, at the end of the documentary, to skip ahead a little bit, Doc did get a little bit of comeuppance because his property was raided in December 2019. Very recently, and nothing has really come of it so far, but I am sure something will come of that.
Sure.
The feds will get their piece of meat at the end of the day, their juicy piece of shack meat.
Remember how last episode he was talking about how he couldn't be alone for Thanksgiving, so he threw this whole get together so that he wouldn't be alone for Thanksgiving. He was sobbing outside because he missed his, ex-husband that killed himself and all of this stuff through that accident, and he was just so upset. And then it comes out this episode that he was using that potluck of sorts to raise money through donations to kill that Carol Baskin. Wow. Oh, wow. So he was having a real rough Thanksgiving. I'm sure glad he invited everyone. Could you imagine knowing your money that you donated to the zoo was going to a murder for hire scheme?
Especially when that, like, a major appeal to emotion was made at the beginning of it, where he's crying, like he's literally
like last
crying.
episode we were feeling bad for him. We were like, wow, like that's, when you love someone that much and then something, they're taken by such a sudden death and everything, that's so hard. And then here he is the next episode that all that money was raised so that he could get a murder for hire scheme going. It's ridiculous.
And I know we don't agree with Doc Antle much, but a broken clock is right twice a day. The dude had some solid points this episode with, I don't think anybody would murder anyone for $3,000. My next point's a doozy. Because Jeff Lowe admitted to a state crime in this documentary. He said, I recorded Joe 24/7 just to hear him slip up. Did you know, in Oklahoma, you have to let people know when you're recording them?
They're being recorded.
Yeah. It's not like California where it's you don't need to let them know. This is like you need to let them know state or you can face jail time. Like it's an actual thing. So he made a no-no in this documentary, and that's why he's the fall guy, because he's stupid. No offense, Joe, if you're seeing this.
100%. He's stupid, and he is the one, like, honestly, this was so dumb. I don't know why you would try a murder for hire scheme on a woman that you've been screaming for years about that you think should be dead, and you want her head in a jar, and all of this crazy stuff he's been screaming about her, all because she was into animal rights, which... Let me tell you, from this episode alone, you see that Joe was preaching the same message when he got started. The same message Carol Baskin preaches.
Joe and Carol honestly flipped sides during this.
It's true, because Carol started in a bad place and then is finishing in a good place with her sanctuary. So for the past, like, almost 30 years, she's had her sanctuary in a really good spot and been taking care of her animals and everything. And Joe was the opposite. I hadn't even thought about that until now. One of his workers said, no one won. Like, the animals certainly didn't win. So it's really sad. And I really wish people would focus on the animals in this documentary other than the people in it. There's no divorce there, and it's all just become like part of meme culture, where I feel like it actually should be more outrage. And it's honestly surprising. Like, so Carol Baskin talks, like right now, she's quite open about how she didn't like, I mean, all of them do not like how they were represented in this documentary. And she's talked about how, when they approached her, they said this was supposed to be the Blackfish documentary for big cats. So she was like, yeah, I'm on board. Let's take down this industry, because that's what she's all about. She wants the Big Cat Safety Act to pass. She just wants, the animals to either be rehabilitated and be able to go back into the wild, or for the most part, they're going to end up in sanctuaries like hers, because these cats can't go back to the wild. And so many people right now are screaming for them to go back to the wild, and that's not how it works.
They'll die. Cats. They'll die in the wild.
Yeah, they'll die. They're captive cats, and honestly, we're going to have to figure out something for tigers if we want them to stay on this earth, because they are manhunters and they are killing people in their own location. But it is, it's really sad, and I just, I wish people would research more and be more behind the cats than behind freeing Joe Exotic.
Yeah, Joe's gained a following because he's very TV friendly. And he's
very entertaining to watch. Like, this whole documentary was made by Joe being in it, 100%.
Yeah, because if it was just Doc Antle and Carol going back and forth, I probably wouldn't have watched it, honestly. But Joe's antics and how insane he is 100% of the time, I'm like, oh, tune me back in for this, please, Lord. Yeah. I'll stand by the statement. He could have been the United States Steve Irwin. He could have been if he had.
I mean, he's entertaining to watch. He could have been an advocate for animal rights more so than like anyone, and been someone you want to watch. But he chose a path that just became all about money. Like when he was walking with those 2 tiger cubs in his hand, and he said, "I've got $5,000 in this hand, and then another amount in the other hand." And I was like, "That's disgusting." Yeah. You have 2 living, breathing animals in your hands. Is what you have, a soul in each hand. Like, that's ridiculous to say that.
And coming from someone who used to breed animals, snakes in particular, what I'm thinking about, it's like, yeah, the number crosses your mind once you get them to a point when you can actually say, hey, this animal can survive on its own, because baby animals are delicate regardless of the species. But before you get them to that point, which those animals were not at that point because their eyes weren't even open, before you get them to that point, you don't ever really look at them as a number. You look at them as an animal that needs to be taken care of, or else it will die. because honestly, all the snakes that I had and stuff like that, I had to, oh my gosh, the procedures I had to do on baby snakes because they wouldn't eat, just because they just chose, I'm not going to eat, you know, and they started to starve to death all on their own. The stuff I had to do for them, I never once looked at them as a number, and that's a snake. And I don't think you can have that emotional connection with a snake. This is coming from someone who loves snakes. I love snakes, but I don't think you can have emotional connection with them like you can a cat or a dog. You know, it's a mammal. It's part of our kind of filing cabinet, you know? The snake is on the other side of the office, along with the alligator and all those other animals. And they can get along well with each other, but they can't get along well with us, you know? It's just something, there's a difference between us. I never once looked at them as a number, even after I could sell them. Even after I could sell them and I got them to that size, and I got them to that age that I was like, okay, yeah, you can take care of yourself, and if someone else takes a hold of you, I know that you can fend for yourself. I feel comfortable with selling you. I looked at them and I said, okay, you're worth that much, but to me you're worth a little more, because I raised you. You're mine. Do you know what I mean?
And I think the last episode really did hammer through to us that Joe started in the right place, and then money just got all in his mind and really took everything over. And it is really sad that he's, you know, now in prison because of the choices that he decided to make in this life.
I'll wrap it up on my actual camera.
Okay,
But
I'm gonna go pee.
Have you guys been able to clue in that I filmed the intro and the outro at the exact same time now? Thank you guys so much for watching as usual. There's only one more kind of review after this, and then I want to get into some different stuff, kind of the same style, but a little bit of different content. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me throughout this whole thing. I've really enjoyed making this, but it is definitely time that we move on from old Joe. Hope you guys have a great day. Remember to always take the stairs, and as always, if you get tired, pull over, call me. I really care about you guys. Have a great day. Bye.